Right now, the government shutdown has caused not only a lot of people to lose income, but now they're also cutting SNAP benefits, or causing people to perhaps not have access to food and have access to things that are necessary to live, basic needs to live.
I don't think every church needs to be a food pantry and a homeless shelter. I think others are more equipped to do different things. I do think that it's not outside the church's scope to be, to offer help in these ways. We offer assistance and we offer help when we can and how we can.
I think this is the time for churches to shine. This is that opportunity. This is that moment. These moments of need, what better way to not only help your own community, but reinforce your own congregation.
It's a beautiful thing to help out the people who are less fortunate. What's important is that we give a hand up and not just handouts. There is wisdom and discernment that we need to exercise when we're being generous, when we're helping out the less fortunate, because you never want to be enabling someone.
Some things shouldn't be political, and we politicize it even within the church. There's believers right now who've lost income, SNAP benefits, and we can't put politics aside and just let's take care of people.
Right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the A5 podcast. Today I'm joined by Eric, Sandro, Alex.
Yes, sir.
So today we're going to have a good episode, good topic. I think it's going to be one, maybe a little bit of a touchy subject right now, but we'll see. But thank you so much, everybody that's been supporting us on Instagram and YouTube. We love you guys. We couldn't do it without you. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's going to help us out to push this message out further into the algorithm.
Thank you.
So do you want to go ahead and give us a quick debrief, Alessandro, of what we're going to touch on?
Yeah, so as of today, what day is it today? November 7th, government is currently shut down. And that's been happening for over a month now. And we're not going to necessarily get into the politics of it, but more so how the church should respond in a time like this, particularly regarding the cutting of certain benefits for people. Right now, the government shutdown has caused not only a lot of people to lose income, but now they're also cutting SNAP benefits, or the EBT benefits and things of that nature, causing people to perhaps not have access to food and have access to things that are necessary to live, basic needs to live. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how the government shutdown is not just political, it's affecting people in your everyday communities and how the church should respond. So based on that, we'll react to some clips or some different posts. But I'm curious, just to get it started, how do you guys feel about that and how the church can step up to really do something about it?
Yeah, it's a tough subject for me. I think I'm not well-versed politically. I'm not even going to try to pretend to be. Like, I know what's best economically and right. I know people need assistance. This is true across the globe, and with everything, there's always a limit and there's always, maybe things we should be doing more. There's always an argument of where, our tax money can go. But I know I'm convicted, where I think the church should offer some kind of help to people, that I can speak more on, Don't ask me about the government, for me, I think the church, and I don't think every church needs to be, a food pantry and a homeless shelter. I think others are more equipped to do different things and have different impacts. But for me, I do think that it's not outside the church's scope to be, to offer help in these ways. As a matter of fact, and I'm no church history expert, but that's actually a huge reason why Christianity spread in Rome when the church started. Is how helpful, like a lot of programs we see today were stemmed from Christian or
hospitals,
church,
food banks, shelters,
schools.
Right. So many things you could tie back to when the church started. So you were saying.
Yeah, but no, it's exactly that. And so I do think I do believe church's primary focus is gospel and make disciples and preach, the message of Jesus's death and resurrection. I do think from that, some of the fruits that looks like, we offer assistance and we offer help when we can and how we can. And that is way more complicated than I'm not explaining right now. I understand that is. We were talking about this downstairs. That there's a list of like, okay, unanswered questions. You just opened up a whole nonprofit at that point. That's,
correct.
Now it's a whole thing. I'm not. Yeah, but anyway, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I think.
Go.
My bad. I mean, I think this is the time for churches to shine.
Yeah.
This is that opportunity. This is that moment. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of, you're preaching to the choir about something. This is the opportunity for, churches to lead by example, I think. You know what I mean? In these moments of need, what better way to not only help your own community, but reinforce your own congregation. You know what I mean? There's so many people that come to church on a regular basis and that serve and just do their part. And they're just going through so many things. You know what I mean? So I think that if we start at least with your home, meaning, a church that you're truly planted in, and then this is a time where a church can use that as a moment to shine and really help out, their people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I've a lot of people don't know this, but I had a nonprofit a long time ago that was aimed at homeless outreach, and it's a beautiful thing to help out the people who are less fortunate. And one thing that I know now, right, that I didn't know back then was, and it was actually, shout out Pastor Kyle. He's the one that taught me this. He was like, what's important is that we give a hand up and not just handouts, right?
That's good.
Because you don't want to enable someone in their poor decisions and in their bad behavior. And the truth of the matter is specifically with homeless people, what I learned when I was doing this work was that a lot of them choose that life.
Yeah,
a lot of them choose to be in the street. A lot of them because they're drug addicted, they're alcohol addicted, or quite frankly, there's just some people that just aren't okay, mentally, and they have zero addictions, but they're just not okay. They could be schizophrenic, they could be severely depressed, and depressed enough to the point where they just don't want to hold a job anymore, so they just go be homeless. Yeah. So that's the case. A lot of those people choose that life, and I'm saying that because if all we do is like Eric said, not every church I think is equipped to be a food pantry. Where not every church is going to be a food bank. Not every church has rooms in the chapel or whatever for someone to just sleep there overnight. Like that's not the case. No church that I know of, right, that I've been in, and even I'll say it for our church, like you can't just walk in there and expect us to just give you a check and food and sure you can spend the night. It's like, no, that's not what it is. Like we have to be concerned with the finances of our church because churches need money. We have to worry about the safety of the church, right, and the people and who we're letting in and who's we can't just let anybody sleep at our church overnight and stuff like that. So anyways, all this to say, there is wisdom and discernment that we need to exercise when we're being generous, when we're helping out the less fortunate, because you never want to be enabling someone in their poor decision, in their bad behavior.
Yeah. I think for me, it's really unfortunate how some issues, it really annoys me and bothers me how some issues shouldn't be political. They really shouldn't.
Right.
The fact that there's people that are not going to have access to food, regardless of socioeconomic status, regardless of whether poor decisions were made, whatever. There's children that won't have access to food.
Correct.
Like some things shouldn't be political, and we politicize it even within the church.
Right.
And like for me, Charlie Kirk getting murdered, the fact that somebody got shot and killed on social, like not live television, but it was spread everywhere. That shouldn't have been political. No, we shouldn't be watching that kind of stuff. Like we shouldn't be celebrating when somebody just gets murdered and everybody sees it. Like children, teenagers, like that's the kind of stuff that there's some things that shouldn't be political.
Right.
And so for me, I've heard people like almost say comments and jokes about, oh, well, too bad you're going to lose your EBT benefits or whatever, or the SNAP benefits. Man, that's not something to joke about. Yeah, but thank God that you're not in that position.
Right.
You don't need those benefits.
But you don't know if you ever will be.
Man, and it's like it's really insensitive. It's really, and I'm not trying to be, forget insensitive. It's so not Christ-like.
Yeah.
It's so unchristlike. I wanted to pull up Matthew 25 when Jesus says, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer. The righteous, they will say, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go visit you?" Then the king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Like, there's believers right now who've lost income, SNAP benefits, and we can't put politics aside and just, man, let's take care of people.
Right.
Again, now we can get into the conversation because, yes, I also agree, like, churches need to have wisdom and structure. You just
Right.
can't suddenly open up and give food to everyone and anyone just because they ask. I do think God is a God of order. The Bible says that God is not a God of disorder. So there needs to be some kind of order. And I think Paul even talks about it in 1 Timothy 5. We're going to pull it up. There's a article by the gentleman named Nathan Finocchio.
Shout out Nathan Finocchio, come on the show.
He talked about what Paul, he says that this is Paul drawing up a policy manual for the first century welfare system. And he says that his criteria are savage. He doesn't say give to whoever looks sad. He says that it must be a widow who is actually alone, no kids, no grandkids, no GoFundMe options. She must be over 60. She must have only ever been faithful to one husband. She must have a proven record of good works. These are some of like the criteria for, according to Paul in 1 Timothy 5, to take care of someone. Mm-hmm. And I think the crux of this article is like, I think in church, sometimes we, or just in culture, we talk about the church needs to be nicer, or doesn't Jesus call us to love our enemies or whatever? Doesn't Jesus
to love
call
our
us
neighbor,
to love our neighbor and things like that? And where does it say? Empathy without structure is chaos dressed up as compassion. I don't know. I read this article. Renee sent it to me, and I don't know, man.
He's not arguing. He's making a point, right? He's not arguing that that list we should follow. He's just making a point. I'm
right.
guessing, right? Okay.
But it almost seems like it was.
Well, there is some point in the article that he says that. So I think it was here. At some point in the article, he touches on how right here. So after he gives that criteria, she must actually be alone, must be over 60. And he's talking about the widow in Timothy's time when Timothy was in ministry.
Right.
Nathan Finocchio says in his article, he goes right here, right after he gives that list of the criteria of the widow, what they have to hit to receive help from the church. He says right there, absolutely none of our churches are following the Bible. I do not agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't agree with speaking in absolutes when it comes to when it comes to talking about the Bible and especially about churches.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you don't know what program a church has.
Correct.
Right.
Again, it's about, can a church even do that, right? And the thing is, I think where we have to start is we need to change people's perspective of what the church is, right? Because I'll say a quick story. Like recently, I had to confront a homeless individual that walked into our church on a Tuesday night, and he was asking for a handout. He was asking for money to grab a flight to Nicaragua because he wanted to go back to Nicaragua. And what?
No, Bobby, no. Sorry, we can't do that.
Right. It's like immediately it's like, well, no, we can't do that. Like we don't know you. You again, if you want to look at the criteria, right? Like you don't come to our church. We don't know you. I don't know if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, and it's like, I'm not about to now give you $300-400 for a flight to Nicaragua. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And if I do that, I am going to buy you the flight and you're going to sit right next to me and I'm going to be like, here's your flight info. All right.
What's your full name?
I'm a print out your, do you even have a passport?
Yeah, for real.
Do you have a passport? It's so many things, right? So anyways, he came in for that. Long story short, we obviously told him no. And the first thing that this man says was he calls us a hypocrite.
Really?
He called me a hypocrite because I was the one confronting him. whatever, safety.
He called you a hypocrite because you didn't want to give him
Correct.
a flight to Nicaragua.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I missed where it says to buy the homeless a flight to Nicaragua in the Bible.
Correct.
It says it there.
Yeah,
In the book, in the book of Nicaragua.
it talks in Miamians 69.
Right,
42.
yeah.
That's crazy.
So he called me a hypocrite, and he said that what we're preaching in this church isn't real, and that I will have to now answer to God. And and I told him, okay, you're right, I will have to answer to God, but unfortunately, we can't help you. This is
Yeah.
we don't just have the money to just give you for a flight. Mind you, this was after we gave him a whole container of food that we had. It was like a whole rotisserie chicken and rice and beans. Like, we gave it to him like, hey, again, we're giving you what we do have, right? We can give you some water. We can give you some snacks. We might even, could get you a few bucks, because we've done that before for other homeless individuals that walked into our church. We've given them a few bucks, whatever, and they go on their merry way.
Right.
Now, here's the danger with that, right? This is why you have to be careful, because I'll help you once, but then now if you're going to keep coming back to me expecting it every single time, that's where you and I are going to have a problem. Because again, the church isn't equipped to do that. And
Right.
We're here to heal you. We're here to guide you. We're here to bring you closer to Jesus. What we're not going to do is enable you. And
Right.
Eric, I think you had something to share, a story that you heard about that someone told you that that the church isn't there to feed you or something along those lines.
So I've heard some pastors say in the past where, the church isn't necessarily built for, and I understand the argument, by the way, and I agree with the essence of it, that the church is not a homeless shelter. The church is not a food pantry. The primary goal and focus of the church is gospel. And at the core of that is true. If you hand out more food than you preach gospel, or you call people to repentance, it's backwards. Now you're a nonprofit,
Yeah.
but you're not a church. There is
a good point.
and I do believe in that. I don't think that's a good argument to excuse not
For sure.
helping people.
For
It's
sure.
my thing,
sure.
where
I
it's
agree.
like you should be a church first. As a matter of fact, let those programs be another avenue that lead people back on Sunday.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that get people saved, and that
Right.
you have more yeses when you do salvation calls.
Right.
So I think that's my take. It's the church ought to be doing it. Your verse that you read, not your verse, the verse you read, where Jesus says, you did it to me when you did it to them, essentially, is a good example of, let's model that.
Right.
So, and I think when we model that, we have an opportunity. You just created more opportunity, for someone to be open. That's seed. I think those programs, are seeds planted. It's just like this church, fed me. This church, housed me for a season. Yeah. And then, as a condition of housing, they asked me to show up on Sunday or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
And it was easier for me to listen to them because they were the only ones that would help me. Like, I don't know. It's an opportunity. But
Or people, that's a good point. Or even people that the church does help, or someone at the church helps, they get on their feet and now they want to go ahead and pretty much give it back.
yeah,
Right, like pay it forward.
Yeah, correct. They
That's
want to,
right.
maybe help somebody else out
Right.
that might be going through a hard time or a hard season in the church. And they can do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when we say that obviously this is a time for the church to shine, I don't want to put the entire weight on the church.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because a lot of the times the congregation in itself can help their fellow brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. It's not like the church as an organization itself, too. It's just like, what are you, who's a part of the church, doing?
Correct.
Right.
Like, anyway, that's a really, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
No, because I think a lot of the times we lose that focus, and it's like, oh, well, what the church has done for you, or
Right.
what did the church give you, or
Right.
what did and it's like the church, but what about the congregation?
Yeah.
Right.
What about those fellow brothers and sisters that you've built those relationship with? The people that may not know the entire depth of your situation, but them just knowing that you may be going through something, God may speak to them,
That's
and
good.
they could just bless you. That doesn't mean that it's not through the church, because realistically, if you guys weren't part of this congregation, together, you probably won't even interact with that person.
Right.
To be honest. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily saying when I say, okay, this gives the church the opportunity to give back to their community, is as a whole, because we make the church.
We are the church.
Exactly.
We are. Yeah.
So with that being said, is we can't sit there and depend and point the finger and be like, well, the church didn't give. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's exactly that. What is it we're doing?
Right.
How are we carrying our cross?
Right.
How are we paying it forward?
Right.
Yeah, the real church, like the it's almost like we got to make a distinction now. It's like we have church, the organization,
Right.
and then the church,
Right.
like us, the people,
Right.
That's a really good point. I think it's a both and, and probably more the and, like probably more the people. It's like your coworker was hungry. What did you do?
Right.
You as a person, you didn't
Right.
call the church. It's like, what do you do? About that. As we were talking, this thought, it's kind of different, but this thought came to mind. I think church as an organization, right? Oftentimes this is such a different subject, and we can just touch on it. They struggle with getting people to tithe, and to give financially and to be generous. I'm a firm believer in this. And I wish more churches did this more often. I think they would see their numbers flourish and people get to become more generous. We don't do enough of a job to show how much help that offers people sometimes. It's like, I wish some churches would show and say, hey, it's like, because of your generosity, we were able to feed 100 families, this past month. I don't know, or this past week.
And there are some churches that do that.
Right, yeah.
For example, Mike Todd, he does that every year. I think they do like an end of year offering.
Yeah.
And all they do is just give money to other churches, other organizations, and it pretty much the whole service is just them showing on the screen like, this is how much money went here, this is how much money went there.
It is, and that it's honestly, in my opinion, the best method to inspire generosity. Sometimes we
100%.
preach it, and it's like, you're not going to convict people that way. I think it should be inspired. Like, oh wow, I could to be a part of changing someone's life or giving them assistance. And I think it's just, here's where I'm going with this. I think some churches believe they're not equipped to deal with these things and these massive issues. And I understand budgets are tight. I think part of it too is having faith that if you start to do it, I think you're going to inspire a lot of people that are going to fund it and really give. They can give to that. And I mean, everyone should tithe. I'm a firm believer in the scripture and preaching that this is true.
Right.
And you should just do it because you want to please God at the end of the day, at its core. But the people that struggle with that, and I'm not saying like, I don't want to come across where I'm just like, well, like, let's make it, like give them another reason to, because that should be all the reason you need. But at the same time, it is easier, especially up north, people do not play about, they call church a scam. Like, they do not play about giving church money.
Yeah.
It's hard, doing ministry up there. But it's like, if you showed them, it's like, no, it's like, you're not paying for the pastor to have a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
You're paying because we're feeding this many people a week, and we're offering shelter, and we just paid for, this, we just don't, maybe it's not us directly, but we just donated your funds to other organizations that do this. Like, I don't know,
Right.
And I mean, it's kind of it's a separate conversation, but I think it's funny when people complain about like the church asking for money. It's like the church that you are enjoying, that you are. It's how do you think the light bill gets paid? How do you think the water bill gets paid? How do you think the rent gets paid?
Yes.
How do you think the people on the staff get paid?
Right.
Like,
people would be shocked to see the bills.
literally.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what it costs that, but
this would be my question. This would be my
crazy.
question because
I have I have to go.
My question would be to that person, because we come to church and every week we eat spiritual food. That's what we're consuming. We're eating the food that the church is presenting. We're eating spiritual food. Right. If you went to your favorite restaurant every week and never paid the bill, how long would that restaurant stay open? If everybody that went
Closes
to that restaurant
that month.
If everybody who liked that restaurant, let's say Texas Roadhouse. We love Texas Roadhouse. I do. I don't know if you guys do, but let's say we all love Texas Roadhouse. We go there for a month, but we never pay the bill. And everybody who goes to Texas Roadhouse never pays the bill. How long is Texas Roadhouse going to be open? it's going to shut down.
2 weeks.
Like it's just that's simply on the realistic natural side.
Right.
Not even talking about the spiritual stuff. Like just plainly, you go to church, you receive from there, and you're like, they don't want it. All they want is my money. It's like, not that we want your money. There's scriptural backing to it, but on the natural side, like churches need money to run, to just operate.
Right.
Correct. It's like a business. It's gonna sound bad, but it's like a business. You know, like you do need the finances to keep the the lights on. And I was gonna say this, that we our church, it's an old church, right? Our building was built when, like, in the 1930s or something like that. It's super old.
Crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's why we have such a weird shape. It's like a wedge. So anyways, not the point. The point is that every so often one of our ACs goes out, and it so happened, it was about like a month ago. We had gone like maybe a month or two almost with half of our building was hot, the other half was cold. And before that, we had gone like maybe 2 or 3 months where our staff had zero AC. Only the auditorium had AC and the kids wing.
Yeah.
But our staff had to have all the doors open just to create a wind tunnel.
Yeah.
For them to get a breeze.
Yeah.
And we live in Miami, folks. So,
it got hot.
This is, and we had one of the hottest summers this past year. So imagine in the peak of summer, these individuals were there every day in that hot office. Anyways, point is, all I'm saying, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the same people that I would hear like, oh, can you guys turn on the air? It's like so hot in here. Those are the same people that I look at and I'm like,
right.
You know
how much that commercial air conditioning costs?
Right.
You know how much it costs? You know what the energy bill is to cool down this huge building? Like,
dude,
that bill is crazy. Like, yeah.
It's insane. And one AC unit is hundreds of thousands of dollars for a building our size.
Yeah.
They're huge and they're super expensive.
Yeah.
And so when I hear people complain about it, I remember I was talking to one of our pastors and I would just love to know if those people tithe. I really do.
Yeah.
I would love to know.
The crazy part about this is the part about being a pastor, like behind the scenes, when you do have access to that information and you know that person complains, doesn't tithe, criticizes, and you still got to shepherd them.
You still got to shepherd them.
Still got to love them.
But you know what? That is your opportunity, right? To shepherd them in the right direction, which is, and to Eric's point, why it's important to be transparent maybe with the finances,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, hey, you love being here. You love having this cold AC. You love having these lights. We haven't had a dimmer in our church for almost a year.
Yeah.
We keep having
What's
a
that?
The
dimmer.
lights go
Like,
on off. There's no fade in the auditorium.
We look,
pastor
it looks like
walks
a
up.
warehouse. It's a warehouse. It's just, you hear it. You hear it.
Dude, it's the legit breaker.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
They flip the brake.
Like,
okay, so we're
Yeah, our lights
I'm sorry, I'm
in
laughing.
the auditorium don't fade on and off anymore. We have to flip them on and off.
Imagine worship ends and pastor walks up and it's just lights.
Right. That's funny. So it's like, and why? Because a dimmer costs thousands of dollars. And we're like, hey, we just got to get by with what we got for now and pray to God that the breaker doesn't go out. Sometimes we turn them on and the lights are like having, and then we got to like turn that one section off and hope it turns back on.
Well, that's crazy.
So
But again, those are the things, right? And I'll tell you this, like, I remember sometime last year, we were having a meeting and one of the pastors, she just, she shared with everybody, like, at the time, we had we were averaging like maybe 700-800 people a weekend. She goes, that out of those 800 people, only 120 people tithe. And I'm like, dang, that's tough. That's real tough. And it's funny. I brought it up to her like a few weeks ago and I go, hey, I remember you brought this up. Like, has it increased? Cause now we're averaging like 1,000 people a Sunday. We've grown. And she goes, I think we're like at 130 right now. I'm like, my goodness, man.
13%.
Yeah, the statistics of giving, I don't know them off the top of my head, but they're shocking. Like, I think the percentage of people that give, period, not even tithe.
Yeah, just give.
I don't know if it's like between 10 and 30%. And then tithe, it's even lower than that, you know? And so, yeah, bro, people love to eat the spiritual food and then leave without paying the bill.
That's so true. And I mean, and maybe we got off what we originally started talking about, but I think it's all rooted in the same thing. It's like, there's structure, right? And there's one thing we can wrap this up after this. There's one thing in this article by Nathan Finokia that I did like that he said, and it was Paul's logic is that charity isn't meant to replace family responsibility or incentivize idleness. The church wasn't a substitute for the welfare state or a guilt valve for lazy faith. It was a covenantal community, and covenant always includes both grace and structure.
Yeah, that's good.
And then C,
That is good.
empathy without structure is chaos dressed up as compassion. It feels righteous in the moment, but can actually enable the very brokenness it's trying to fix.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
good.
And I think the thing with like charity, benevolence,
Right.
outreach, there's not a one size fits all.
Correct.
So one of my
Right.
counter arguments to his article, not saying that he's necessarily wrong, but I think that off the top of my head, I don't know if Paul's criterion, like his list, was that for the universal church or was that specifically for the church in Ephesus that he's addressing?
Correct.
Right? Like every church is different. Every church has different needs, a different
Yes.
culture, different people. So I don't know off the top of my head. Right?
I would
Different way
argue
of
probably
reaching
it's more
people.
cultural to his day.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
so again, and nowadays things are different. But if we actually look at 1 Timothy 5 in its entire context, like there's another verse that to me is like super convicting because it talks about if you don't take care of your relatives, especially those in your immediate circle, like you're worse than an unbeliever and you've denied the faith. So it's almost like a call. Verse 8. But those who won't care for their relatives, especially those in their own household, have denied the true faith. Such people are worse than unbelievers. So it's almost like a call. If you call yourself a believer, not only are you called to, lead people to Jesus, but take care of them.
Yeah.
Take care of them. Like we're called to take care of our own people, especially the people in our family and our relatives.
Jesus said it, that the way that we'll be known is not by our works. We'll be known by the way that we love each other.
Amen.
So
Yeah. And so, I mean, yeah, we can start wrapping up. I know we're going over time, but if we could summarize this, does anybody have any like final thoughts, remarks about this?
I do have one thought.
Go ahead.
And when it comes to giving, right? Or when it comes to giving, I know sometimes it's easy for like maybe cynicism to get in and to be like, how do I know that they're actually going to do the right, how do I know that they're going to do the right thing with the money that I give them, whether it's to the church or to the homeless person or to whoever. And I remember I heard a pastor say this one time, and this is how I operate. Because I remember I had to have a conversation with someone that I was leading at the time, and they were offended by the house that our pastor lives in. And they were like, it's nice to see where my tithe money's going, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't tithed in like a few weeks because I just I just don't agree with the type of house that he got. And I remember I told this individual, I was like, I get you, and you have every right to feel what you feel. I know how it can seem, on the surface, big house, whatever, yada, yada. But here's one thing that I learned was that our responsibility, our commandment is to give. What the church does with that money is between them and God.
Amen.
What you do with my money, and it's the same thing that I apply to like a homeless person. I'll give you the $1. I'll give you the $10. Your sign says I'm homeless, need a job, I'm just hungry, I need food. Okay. I'm going to choose to believe that.
Right.
I'm going to give you these $10 because I want you to go and get yourself a nice meal. But if you go and you buy yourself a 12-pack and you just get drunk and that's it, hey, I did my part. I blessed you. I was generous.
With the correct intention.
With the correct intention.
Yeah.
What you do with that money is your problem.
Yeah.
So I would say that to anybody who struggles with tithing and has that thought of like, the church just wants my money. How do I know that they're going to do the right thing? Don't worry about that. Worry about what God is telling you to do.
Right.
If God is telling us, give me 10%, trust me with that 10%, test me on this. The one time that we can test God, do it. Don't worry about what the church does with that money. The point is, You do what God is telling you to do.
Yeah.
And if they are messing with your money, trust me that God is going to expose them. Churches
He's
don't last.
done it.
And he's done it. And he will continue to do it.
I've watched it.
I've seen, listen, we have seen.
Done it twice.
That's what I'm saying.
I've watched it twice.
That's what I'm saying. We've seen kings rise and fall because of that. So,
And just to that real quick, just want to point back to scripture. If you could scroll down a little bit, it's right here in 1 Timothy 5, verse 17 right there. It says, elders who do their work well should be respected and paid well, especially those who work hard at both preaching and teaching.
That's good.
that's in the New Testament.
Yeah, there's this belief where it's just like, I've seen it said, I've gotten into arguments with close friends where they were like, I don't agree, like, you know, pastors, whatever. And this is maybe a different episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, and I'm like, why do
Different
you have this heart where you like want to see them like poor and struggling?
I just
it's just like,
don't get
that's
that,
also
man.
weird.
I don't get that.
I'm not saying like, I understand the extreme, like the private jet. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know what I mean? But it's just
If I'm not on it, I don't want you.
But I was like, why do you want his family of 5 and they don't have another corporate job like you to be like how is that also honoring to them?
Exactly.
Correct.
There's also another issue. It's like, do you have like an ounce of honor for them, or you just
Right.
like want to see them suffer?
And there's
it's
a-
weird.
yeah.
Anyway, different pod episode probably.
No, 100%. And just to, you know, I guess the cherry on top for that is like, dude, there's pastors. I know so many pastors that don't take a single cent from the church that they
And they don't know that.
and they don't know that.
Yeah.
You assume that because you see them with the nice car and you see them with the nice shoes, and it's like, dude, but you don't know that he's a best-selling author and that he has a podcast that's monetized and that he's an itinerant speaker, that he travels the world and he preaches and he teaches and he gets honorariums. And some people want to argue about that. Whatever. That is part of a different episode.
I mean, yeah, we could go down a rabbit hole, but yeah, maybe we'll talk about that on the next one. In conclusion, I think, my humble opinion, let's be the church.
Yeah,
Let's be the
Amen.
church.
we have an opportunity.
We
to
have an
shine.
opportunity right now, at least in the United States of America and other parts of the world. Obviously, there's poverty is a thing, hunger is a thing, but right now in America, there's an opportunity. And if your church, if you're building, right? Because we are the church,
Yes.
the body of Christ, the believers, the body of believers. That's the church. But if your church is not doing anything, be the church.
Right. Correct.
How about stop complaining and criticizing? Just be the church.
Correct.
Go find a family that might have had their benefits cut and
Yeah.
see how you could bless them that week.
Yeah.
See how you could be the church to them. Why do we always have to point it back? Oh, my church needs to do. My church needs to take care of.
you do it.
We're the church. So
Yeah.
do it. Take care of someone. So
Yeah. Sorry, I was.
You wanna drop a bomb?
Just no, no more bombs. No, I was gonna just add on to that. It's just like if you find yourself, you know, like with like an eagerness to help, you know, but you don't give, you know, there's your starting point.
Yeah.
Like, you know, practice generosity. If you find yourself like eager to do something but you don't serve, there's another starting point. Like practice serving, you know, in and out the church, like volunteer. You know, there's many ways where you can be the church. It doesn't have to be, at the building.
Correct.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
it's like, but volunteer. It's like you can drop off a few cans of food at your
Yeah.
you know, at your local. It's like there's ways that you
Yeah.
can be involved and not just, you know, expect things to happen and it doesn't start with you. Be the change you want to see, you know?
it's good.
There you go. We're gonna put that on a shirt.
I think it is. I feel like that's like,
Yeah, that probably is.
I think that's
It's
okay.
all right.
We're going to get copyrighted now. Thanks.
Alrighty, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. We pray that this blessed you.
And if you disagree, leave it on
There
the
you
comments.
go.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I was about to say that if it challenged you, you know, make sure you put it in the comments. If you have any questions, if you want to argue and you want to debate, go ahead. We'll do it.
We here.
We here, yeah. There's like 5-6 people that are ready to debate you in the comments. So I hope you can handle all of them. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace.